Okay, for the first card, for our Sagittarius Sun, Moon, and Risings, we have the Hanged Man. So, it seems that you guys have definitely gone into a bit of a contemplation period. You guys may be considering making some pretty big life changes. You guys may be just, feeling like you're stuck in a rut. You're just tired of the same old, same old. And so you're really considering making a huge change. And for some of you, a lot of you may actually be considering making sacrifices that you would have never made before in order to go in a new direction. And for some of you, this can indicate that maybe perhaps some of you feel stuck. Some of you could be stuck on a certain situation that's occurring in your life. And maybe you're trying to go within to find the answers. But more times than not, the answers are going to lead you to make a change, to go in a different direction, so to speak. Sometimes we just have to leave what is familiar behind and go into the unknown, and that sometimes that's just what we need, Sagittarius, you guys got a soul of adventure, so for some of you, that'll be music to your ears, so change. Okay, so here we have the circumstances card, and we have the devil in the reversed position. So this could be indicating that some of you could perhaps be dealing with a toxic karmic relationship or partnership. It could be a romantic one, or it could even be a platonic one. This could be a marriage, a romantic relationship. This could be a friendship. This could be a business partnership. But, it has become toxic. It's not doing any good for you. And a lot of times there is fear or an obsession, especially an obsession. Perhaps maybe you've been obsessed with a certain situation, certain person, or obsessed with the way things should be, But overall, the devil in reverses, this is about us saying, hey, we're no longer going to let our obsessions, we're not going to let our fears, we're not going to let a toxic karmic relationship, we're not going to let any addiction we may have control our life and rule us. This is where you're breaking those shackles, you're breaking that bondage. You don't want to be tied to a fear. You don't want to be tied into a karmic relationship anymore. You don't want to be, tied into an addiction. You're ready to just break those shackles, you want to release yourself from that bondage. And with the devil card in reverse, this allows you to remove yourself out of a situation if this is what you desire. Now, this would be the focus card. So here we have the Chariot, and I always refer to this as the victory through adversity, because with the Chariot, we're always going towards a goal. And I also normally associate this card with, first and foremost, Cancer, as we have the symbol of Cancer here. But I also refer to this card as Sagittarius energy as well, because you're charging forward, you're going towards a goal, you're trying to accomplish something. And with the Chariot, that's very good energy, so you could absolutely get what you're going after. And if any of you have been having issues with, say, an adversary or an enemy, this is definitely a good sign showing that you will triumph over any type of adversary or enemy that comes your way. So, just keep going forward and focused on your goal. Sure, some things may come up, say trees falling in the road, So, just be alert, swerve those trees and keep on going, Now, for your recent past, now some of you could still be in this energy, but it is moving away. And then for those of you, this is already in your past. So here we have the 10 of coins. So this is about us having money. And this is also about, happy family life, but we are financially happy as well. Sometimes this can actually indicate large corporations, big business things. This can also indicate a type of business that is like generational, where it's handed down from one generation to the next. So it can be a generational wealth type of thing. And for some of you, maybe you had gotten a job at a big business or a corporation. Maybe some of you are working in a family type business. Maybe some of you actually inherited a family business. Maybe some of you have, just simply inherited some money or had a windfall of money come in. So this can be many different things. But the overall message here is that, that you guys did receive some form of money. This could have come through, just about anything. Some of you could have had an unexpected windfall. Some of you could have received some money from a family member. Some of you could have received an inheritance. Okay, so this card is about our present, the here, the now energy. So we have the Three of Swords in the reverse position. So this would definitely indicate that you guys have been through somewhat of a hurtful situation here. And you're now in the process of trying to heal up from this and move on. So this could have been a relationship. This could have been a romantic relationship for some of you. This could have actually been one where there could have been unfaithfulness, a third-party situation. Or this could just simply be indicating that you were hurt by someone that you loved, and it could have, that pain could have been very, very deep. Because in the upright position, it definitely indicates that, it is fresh. With it being in the reverse, it's already happened, but you're still dealing with it and you're beginning to get past this. Now, this doesn't have to necessarily be a romantic relationship. Perhaps someone that you're related to or someone that you've been friends with for a long time, said something that was pretty awful, or did something that was pretty awful and it hurt you. So, this doesn't have to be romantic love. This could be platonic love. It can go either way, especially when we're talking about, cards that have things to do with love. It can be romantic or platonic. So, but this is definitely indicating that someone has hurt you, or you were hurt by someone's actions or behavior, and you're now in the process of healing from it. Now, this is the card of your near future, and here we have the Nine of Cups in the reverse position. So, for those of you who have been wishing for something to happen, yeah, this would indicate a no. And this is the near future, so, this could be a week and a half out. Or it could be literally tomorrow. For some of you, you may already be going through this right now. And for some of you, this is going to play out over the next, couple of weeks. But if you have been waiting for an answer, hoping for something that you've wished for to happen, it's not going to happen. Now, there is always a possibility where you receive a partial wish and that, it doesn't come through exactly the way that you wished for it. And maybe you only get half of what you wanted. And yeah, that's just not good enough. So I can't wait to clarify this. Okay. This would be your attitude card. And this is the Two of Swords. So I got the feeling that most of you are experiencing a bit of indecision in regards to something that where you have choices. Maybe you have several choices. Maybe you have different things you can choose from. But you're at a point of indecision. You don't know which one you want to pick. Or should I do this or shouldn't I do that? That type of thing. So a lot of times these decisions are a bit of an emotional nature because of the water behind her. But she's also holding those swords up. And she is also blindfolded herself. And she's done this on purpose because she's going within. She wants to get her answers from her higher self, her intuition. So some of you may be going within and being a bit introspective right now to get your answers because there is a choice that has to be made and you may be feeling a bit indecisive, so just go within for the answers. Okay, this is how other people would see you. Here we have the Tower in the reverse position. So this can indicate that something that was initially pretty shocking, this could have been a very shocking situation initially, and it's not so shocking now, but sometimes this can just indicate that there is a refusal to move past it. Because the Tower card is about an awakening where a situation occurs, something happens, and it can be a bit shocking. And maybe you're just not moving past it. But inevitably, you have to move past it. We cannot stay in the same spot. We must move forward, but we cannot stay in the same spot. We don't want to be a hamster on a wheel. We get nowhere like that. Sometimes this is just like us feeling like we're backed into a corner, but we really must face what we've not wanted to face here. Now the Tower is ruled by Aquarius, so some of you could be dealing with an Aquarius, or you're just dealing with this general energy. But a lot of times there is a feeling that life is just not being fair, like life is not giving you a fair shake. You may feel like circumstances are just literally conspiring against you with this type of energy. But sometimes some of you may feel like you're backed into a corner. Maybe some of you do want out of a situation, but maybe you're scared. Well, we've got several cards here that are showing, that you can remove yourself out of the situation if you choose to. And we also have several cards here that are showing, karma being, cleansed, so clean slate, so to speak. But with this card in general, this is, something shocking. It's not so shocking anymore. It was initially shocking, and it's set in now. Okay, but you need to deal with the situation. We can't avoid it, and when it's in the reverse position, it's being avoided. So someone may be looking at you like you're not dealing with the situation, or this could very much be how you are looking at someone else. So you may be looking at someone like they are not dealing with the situation, and they're refusing to come out of that. Life's just, unfair, and they're just simply trying to avoid the inevitable, so this can go either way. Okay, so this is about our hopes and fears. This is a hope, automatically, okay? 7 of Coins, this is a wonderful card. This is about reaping what we sow, So we definitely want to sow good seeds. But this is also about a good return, a good harvest coming in. We have to work hard, but we reap a very good harvest. So this can definitely indicate good money. So this coming in, so this is definitely what I would classify as hope. Because I don't see anyone being scared of, receiving money through their hard work. You know what I mean? Okay. Yep. All right. Final outcome card. We got the moon. Yep. Oh, Lord. So, yeah, you guys might be dealing with some deception. It could be deception from others. It could be self-deception. Or you could be dealing with someone who is being self-deceptive. But the moon, the moon can intensify our emotions. So sometimes, we can be a pretty chill, laid-back person, just like Sagittarius, pretty chill, laid-back. But the moon can exaggerate our emotions. And so sometimes we can end up having an emotional outburst. We might make a mountain out of a molehill. Or we may have a very legitimate reason, but maybe we just go a little too far. It's always a possibility. Now, for some of you, I really need to say this. For some of you, you could be having issues with sleeping. Some of you may be experiencing insomnia type of issues. Yeah. And some of you could be dealing with a bit of anxiety as well. But the moon card, there is always, the main message I give with this card is you definitely need to pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to your gut feeling. Do not ignore your gut feeling with this type of energy, okay? A lot of times there is a feeling, that feeling of knowing that there is something big coming, that there is a big change coming. We'll feel that. And if you feel and have been feeling like, something big is going to happen, then this is an absolute, you're right, something big is going to happen. There is a big change coming. Sometimes it can be a very positive change. Sometimes it can be positive, after we go through, it may be experienced as negative in the beginning, but it leads to a positive outcome. But yeah, do be careful of your emotions, because sometimes the moon can give us a bit of an overactive imagination. Yeah, so you definitely don't want to freak out on somebody because your imagination's working overtime. And see, this card is a bit of an enigma here, because sometimes you could have a crazy intuition, and on the surface you may look at it like, that's just nuts, that's got to be my imagination, but it may not be. And then sometimes it's just your imagination, so it can be a bit of a tricky situation here. But overall, this is why I say trust your gut feeling, because your gut feeling will always lead you the right way. The moment that you second guess your gut feeling and you start rationalizing and making excuses and thinking, oh, well, no, it could be this or it could be, no. Listen to that first initial gut feeling. Don't question it, because when you question it, this is where we get into trouble. So just focus on that initial gut feeling. So for the bottom of the deck, we have the Six of Cups in the reverse position. So this would definitely indicate perhaps that some of you could be having a not so good thoughts about the past. Some of you may be feeling like you're haunted by thoughts of the past. Some of you could be focusing on how things were in the past, whether it be with a lover or a friend, a cousin, a brother, a sister, whomever it may be. Sometimes we may get stuck on focusing on how things were in the past, and we may get caught into this frame of mind where we're wishing that things could be the way that they were in the past. And if that's resonating with you at all, please do try to focus on the here and the now, because what happened in the past is the past. We cannot change it. And if you're looking to the past because you're wanting things to be the way that they were in the past, well, more times than not, that means you need to move away from a certain situation. That or the situation needs to undergo a complete transformation in order to work. But a lot of times this is someone focusing on the past, focusing on how things used to be, perhaps, within a relationship, whether romantic or platonic. So you had a really good friendship with someone and things went sour. And so maybe now you're focused on all of the good times and the things that happen, and maybe you're thinking, oh, I wish that things were like this now. But that type of thinking isn't going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us in the long run. It doesn't hurt to look back on the past because, we learn from our past and the things that we go through. But we don't want to get stuck on focusing in the past and I wish it was like this. No, we need to deal with it as it is now. And we need to either try to fix the situation or simply be done. For me, my feeling is a lot of you will end up being, you're not going to be able to reconcile fully with someone in the past, or you're just not going to be able to make things work. But I'm not going to go too far with that interpretation yet, as I am not done.